It was a cold and drizzling night when Detective Ryan Carter received a cryptic phone call that shook the calm of Ashford City. The voice on the other end was trembling, yet urgent. "Warning, they're coming, and you have only until sunrise to stop them." Ryan's instincts screamed that this was no ordinary prank. The weight of the warning settled over him like the heavy fog blanketing the streets. Glancing at the clock, it was 11:47 p.m., and every second felt like a countdown toward something inevitable. Pulling on his coat and grabbing his flashlight, he stepped outside, where the rain-slicked streets reflected the flickering lampposts, casting jagged, dancing shadows. Each shadow seemed alive, shifting with a rhythm that matched the pounding of his heart. Ryan had faced danger before, countless cases in his career, but this night felt fundamentally different, almost personal. As he navigated the winding streets, Ryan's mind raced through recent events: the strange murder at Riverside Manor, the disappearance of journalist Laura Benton, and the unmarked packages mysteriously delivered to city officials. Each piece alone seemed insignificant, but together they formed a dark puzzle that he had yet to solve. The fog thickened, wrapping around the city like a suffocating blanket, and the distant echo of footsteps behind him made him quicken his pace. Every alley, every corner seemed alive with silent watchers. He passed graffiti-covered walls, puddles reflecting distorted images, and litter scattered like clues left behind. Somewhere in the shadows, a figure might be watching, silent and intent, shaping the events he could not yet comprehend. Turning sharply into a narrow alley, Ryan noticed a crumpled envelope lying in the rain. Despite being soaked, a single line scrawled in red ink was still visible. "The past you ignored will hunt you tonight." A chill ran down his spine, not just from the cold, but from the undeniable truth of the message. He flicked on his flashlight, illuminating the dark alley and the empty crates stacked against the walls. Every instinct screamed at him that this night would demand every ounce of his skill, intuition, and courage. The city's pulse throbbed in rhythm with his heartbeat, and the tension in the air was almost tangible. Somewhere beyond the reach of the light, the first pieces of a deadly puzzle were falling into place, and Ryan was the only one standing between the chaos and the city's fragile peace. Reaching the central square, normally deserted at this hour, Ryan observed subtle movements, shadows slipping between fountains, glints of metal reflecting under the dim lights. He crouched behind a marble statue, analyzing details: the placement of trash cans, the angle of lampposts, and the barely audible mutterings of individuals who seemed to vanish when focused upon. Every anomaly could be a clue, a trap, or both. A low rumble of distant thunder punctuated the silence, as though nature itself conspired in the unfolding tension. Ryan's phone buzzed violently in his coat pocket, displaying a photo of a masked figure standing in the square, staring directly at the camera. The timestamp read 11:52 p.m., and beneath it, a single word: soon. His pulse quickened, but his mind remained razor-sharp, dissecting probabilities and preparing for confrontation. The square, silent moments ago, now seemed alive with unseen energy. Each shadow, a potential threat, each glint of light, a signal he could not yet decipher. He took a deep breath, centering himself, knowing that hesitation could cost lives, including his own. Somewhere, in the unseen corners of the city, plans were being set in motion that could bring Ashford to its knees if he failed. Every moment mattered. Every decision could tip the balance. And Ryan knew that tonight, more than ever, the city's fragile peace depended entirely on his ability to act decisively. The rain poured relentlessly over the streets of Ashford, turning the city into a maze of glistening cobblestones and flickering lights. Detective Ryan Carter moved cautiously, flashlight cutting through the darkness, each beam revealing puddles and shadows that seemed to twist and dance with a life of their own. Every footstep echoed in the alleyways, blending with the distant rumble of thunder and the soft drip of water from broken rooftops. He pressed close to the walls, noting every corner, every darkened doorway, aware that someone or something was tracking his every move. The sense of being watched was almost tangible, a heavy weight pressing against his chest, and yet he could not afford hesitation. His instincts told him that the cryptic phone call from earlier was just the tip of a much larger, more dangerous iceberg. Ahead, movement caught his eye, a shadow slipping behind a stack of crates. Ryan froze, holding his breath, listening intently to the sound of footsteps that did not match his own. His hand instinctively went to his coat pocket, feeling the familiar weight of his sidearm. Yet, he knew confrontation without preparation would be foolish. Whoever was lurking here was likely waiting for him to make a mistake. As he advanced slowly, the flashlight beam illuminated a small, metallic object half submerged in a puddle. Kneeling to inspect it, he realized it was an old, rusted key etched with a strange symbol. A breadcrumb left deliberately, meant to lure him into the next stage of a carefully orchestrated trap. He pocketed it, heart racing, and continued toward the faint flicker of light coming from a nearby abandoned warehouse. Inside, the space was cluttered with crates, stacked haphazardly, creating a labyrinth of shadows and concealment. Muffled voices echoed softly from within, urgent yet indistinct, sending chills down Ryan's spine. He crouched low, assessing the scene, every muscle taut, aware that the smallest noise could betray his presence. The warehouse seemed alive with unseen threats, each shadow potentially hiding someone armed, someone dangerous, someone who knew he was coming. Sweat mixed with rainwater on his forehead as he mentally rehearsed his plan, moving step by step through the maze, determined to uncover the truth while staying one step ahead of whoever had orchestrated this sinister game. Warehouse, each step measured and silent, the beam of his flashlight slicing through the thick darkness. The air was damp and heavy with the scent of mold and rust, mingling with the faint metallic temps of spilled oil. Shadows twisted around him as he navigated through the maze of crates, each one a potential hiding place for danger. He could hear the faint creak of wood and distant scuff of feet, subtle noises that told him he was not alone. His mind raced, analyzing every possibility, calculating the risks of advancing versus retreating. The key he had found earlier burned in his pocket, a reminder that someone wanted him to follow a trail that could either reveal the truth or lead him straight into a trap. He crouched behind a stack of crates, peering around the corner to survey the scene. Two figures emerged from the shadows, moving with deliberate stealth, carrying objects that glinted faintly in the dim light. Ryan's pulse quickened, but he remained calm, observing their movements and trying to discern their intentions. Every instinct honed over years of detective work told him that these were not ordinary criminals. They were methodical, precise, and well-coordinated. He realized that confronting them head-on would be suicide, and yet he could not let them proceed unchecked. Carefully, he adjusted his flashlight to illuminate just enough of the path ahead without revealing his position. Inching forward, step by step, suddenly, a soft metallic click echoed from the far side of the room. Ryan froze, recognizing the sound immediately as a trap being set in motion. His eyes darted around, scanning for any additional hazards, tripwires, hidden cameras, anything that could give him an advantage or alert the enemy. The figures had stopped moving, and a tense silence filled the space, broken only by the faint dripping of water from the ceiling. Ryan's mind raced through contingencies, devising a plan to approach, observe, and, if necessary, neutralize the threat without exposing himself. Every shadow, every sound, every reflected beam of light became a crucial detail, a piece of the puzzle he had to solve before dawn. He knew that the night was far from over, and that the true challenge was just beginning, a deadly game of wits, perception, and courage that could decide not just his fate, but the fate of Ashford City itself. Ryan crouched low behind a stack of crates, his flashlight dim to avoid detection, his breath slow and measured. The distant voices inside the warehouse had grown louder, overlapping in a tense rhythm that suggested coordination and planning. He could make out fragments of conversation, though words were muffled and incomplete, a foreign language interspersed with harsh whispers, punctuated by occasional laughter that sent a chill down his spine. Every movement of his flashlight revealed glimpses of shadows, fleeting images of masked figures carrying objects whose purpose he could not yet discern. He knew that hesitation could be fatal. One wrong move, and the enemy could strike without warning. His eyes flicked to the key in his pocket, and he wondered about its significance, a clue left for him or a trap disguised as guidance. Carefully, he edged forward, stepping over broken crates and discarded tools, keeping his movements deliberate and silent. The beam of his flashlight caught on a faint glimmer, a trail of small metallic fragments leading deeper into the maze. Ryan's instincts screamed that this was no coincidence. Whoever had orchestrated this scenario had designed it with precision, knowing that every step he took would lead him into a decision point, testing both his mind and his courage. He followed the trail cautiously, muscles coiled like a spring, senses heightened. The air grew colder, and a faint draft carried the scent of smoke and damp wood, mixing with the metallic temps of the warehouse. He could hear his own heartbeat echoing in his ears, each beat synchronized with the rhythm of danger. Turning a sharp corner, Ryan spotted a figure standing near the far wall, backlit by a faint, flickering light. The figure did not move, but seemed aware of his presence. Ryan froze, analyzing the posture, the subtle shift of weight, and the faint movement of hands. Every detail mattered. Every micro-expression could reveal intent. He considered the risks. Approaching directly might provoke confrontation. Waiting could allow the figure to vanish or call reinforcements. His mind raced, calculating probabilities, running through past experiences, and weighing potential outcomes. This was a game of patience, strategy, and nerve, one that would test his skills to the absolute limit. He took a measured breath, preparing for whatever would come next, knowing that the answers he sought were just beyond the next shadow, waiting to be uncovered, and that tonight would demand all his wits, all his courage, and all his resilience. Ryan's eyes narrowed as he advanced deeper into the warehouse, the faint, flickering light creating long, angular shadows that stretched across the walls. Each step was deliberate, calculated, his senses acutely tuned to every sound, every movement. The masked figures had not noticed him yet, but he knew that any misstep could reveal his presence. His flashlight illuminated glimpses of crates stacked like barricades, creating a labyrinthian maze where danger could lurk. At every turn, the metallic key in his pocket felt heavier than before, a tangible reminder that he was following a trail laid out by someone who anticipated his every move. He could hear the soft scuffle of feet, the subtle shifting of objects, the quiet murmur of voices, and each sound sharpened his focus. This was no ordinary confrontation. It was a meticulously orchestrated test of his resolve and intellect. As he rounded a corner, Ryan spotted a faint glimmer of movement in the distance, a figure ducking behind a stack of crates, carrying an object that reflected the dim light. His mind raced to assess the potential threats, the intentions, and the next steps. The warehouse seemed to close in around him, each shadow a potential trap, each reflected light a warning. He adjusted his flashlight to focus on a narrow path, moving cautiously, noting the placement of crates, the gaps between walls, and the subtle signs of recent activity. The figures ahead were methodical, deliberate, and clearly expecting someone to follow the trail. Ryan's pulse quickened, not with fear, but with the clarity of purpose. Every step had to be measured, every decision precise. Suddenly, a metallic clang echoed through the warehouse, bouncing off the walls and sending a shiver down his spine. The figure he had been tracking froze, then slowly turned its head in his direction. Ryan froze as well, assessing the body language, the slightest tilt of the head, the tension in the shoulders. He understood instantly that this confrontation was inevitable, that the next moments would define whether he could uncover the truth or be caught in a trap set long before he arrived. With a deep breath, he moved forward, prepared to face whatever awaited him in the shadows. Knowing that the night was far from over and the true challenge had only just begun, Ryan stepped carefully into the heart of the warehouse, his flashlight revealing the chaotic arrangement of crates, scattered tools, and dark corners that seemed to swallow every ray of light. The masked figures were nowhere in immediate sight, yet the tension in the air was palpable, as though the building itself was holding its breath. Every creak of wood beneath his boots, every drip of water from the ceiling echoed loudly in his ears, amplifying his awareness of the space around him. The metallic key in his pocket seemed to pulse with significance, a silent reminder that someone had planned this encounter meticulously, leaving him breadcrumbs that could either guide him to the truth or into a deadly trap. Ryan's mind cataloged every detail, running through scenarios, contingencies, and escape routes, while his body remained poised for swift, decisive action. As he advanced further, a faint light flickered ahead, revealing a small, open space between stacks of crates. A shadow moved there, deliberate and calculated, as if aware of his presence, yet unafraid. Ryan froze, analyzing every subtle movement, every tiny shift in posture. The air was thick with the scent of damp wood and oil, mingling with something sharper, metallic, and unidentifiable. He realized that whoever he was confronting was not an ordinary adversary. This person had planned, anticipated, and set the stage with careful precision. Ryan's pulse raced, but his mind remained razor-sharp, calculating risks and potential outcomes. Every second mattered, every motion could tip the balance between discovery and disaster. He crouched behind a crate, flashlight-dimmed eyes, scanning the shadows, piecing together patterns from the subtle shifts of light and movement. The faint murmur of voices began again, distant yet deliberate, interspersed with the soft scrape of metal across the floor. Ryan understood that the next confrontation would be decisive. He took a measured breath, centering himself, and stepped into the small, open space, flashlight casting a narrow beam ahead. Figure turned fully, revealing a mask that concealed intent and expression alike, and Ryan felt the weight of anticipation pressing against him. The night, with all its shadows, dangers, and hidden truths, had reached a pivotal moment. Every skill he had honed, every intuition, and every ounce of courage would now be tested. As the dangerous game that had begun with a single cryptic phone call approached its first true confrontatio, the night had grown heavier, the rain now falling in relentless sheets that blurred the outlines of Ashford City's streets. Detective Ryan Carter emerged from the warehouse, drenched and tense, but determined. The encounter inside had left him shaken, not physically, but mentally, and the cryptic clues, the metallic key, and the masked figures all weighed heavily on his mind. He knew that the city's quiet veneer was a fragile illusion, one that could shatter at any moment if he failed to uncover the truth. As he moved through the wet streets, the glow of streetlights reflected in puddles, creating the illusion of shifting shapes and shadows. Each step he took seemed to echo off the walls of the narrow alleyways, and he could sense that unseen eyes followed him, watching, waiting, calculating. The adrenaline coursing through his veins heightened his awareness. Every distant footstep, every flicker of movement was scrutinized with a detective's precision. He knew the night was far from over, and that the true danger had only begun to reveal itself. Ryan's mind raced, replaying every detail of the previous encounter. The subtle movements, the muffled voices, the faint glimmer of metal that had signaled a deeper, more sinister plan. The key he carried burned in his pocket, a reminder that the masked figures were leading him through a maze he could not yet fully comprehend. Each clue seemed meticulously placed, forcing him to think several steps ahead, anticipate moves he could not yet see, and remain alert to dangers lurking in every shadow. As he turned a corner, a sudden noise, a soft clatter of metal against wet pavement, made him freeze. He crouched low, pressing against the brick wall, scanning the alley, ahead with narrowed eyes. The rain pelted his face, mixing with sweat and the tension that had built with each step. He had learned long ago that patience was as critical as courage. A single mistake could cost him the answers he sought, or worse, his life. Continuing cautiously, Ryan approached an abandoned car parked haphazardly at the end of the alley. The faint flicker of movement inside the shadows suggested that someone was watching him, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Every sense was on high alert. His eyes darted to every possible hiding place. His ears tuned to the slightest sound, and his mind raced through contingencies and escape routes. He knew that tonight, every instinct, every skill he had honed over years of navigating the criminal underworld would be tested. The city's silence was deceptive, a calm before a storm that threatened to engulf everything he had worked to protect. He took a deep, steadying breath, knowing that the next step would bring him closer to understanding the shadowy forces at play, and that failure was not an option. Ryan moved silently through the wet streets, his coat clinging to his body, soaked by the relentless rain. Every shadow seemed alive, twisting with hidden intent, and every alleyway whispered secrets he could not yet understand. The masked figures from the warehouse had vanished into the night, leaving behind a trail of cryptic clues, and the metallic key burned in his pocket, a silent reminder that the game was far from over. His footsteps echoed softly against the cobblestones, blending with the distant roar of traffic and the patter of raindrops striking the pavement. He knew he was being followed, and yet he pressed forward, relying on instincts honed through years of chasing criminals, piecing together mysteries, and confronting danger head-on. The city seemed different tonight, a living entity that pulsed with secrets and silent menace, daring him to uncover truth that others had buried long ago. Turning a corner, Ryan spotted a flickering neon sign above a shuttered storefront, casting a dim red glow across the wet street. Something about the light drew his attention, and he noticed a figure standing just beyond it, motionless, watching. Ryan froze, assessing the silhouette, its posture tense, deliberate. He could not make out details through the rain and darkness, but the figure radiated an unsettling awareness, as if anticipating his next move. Every instinct screamed that this was no coincidence. The figure was deliberately placed, a sentinel or a warning. Ryan crouched low, pressing against the wall, flashlight dim, scanning the surrounding area. His heart pounded, yet his mind remained clear, calculating probabilities, anticipating danger, and considering the best way to approach without triggering a confrontation he might not survive. A faint movement caught his eye, a flash of reflective metal from the figure's hand. Ryan recognized it immediately as a weapon. Adrenaline surged through his veins as he adjusted his approach, careful to stay in the shadows while closing the distance. Every step was measured, deliberate, each sound he made controlled and precise. The rain had become almost deafening, masking his movements but also obscuring his vision. As he edged closer, he could make out more details, a mask concealing the figure's face, dark clothing blending into the night, and a subtle shift in posture suggesting readiness for immediate action. Ryan understood that the next few moments could determine the course of the night, and that every decision, every move, must be perfect. The tension was suffocating, the stakes higher than ever, and yet he pressed forward, determined to uncover the truth hidden in the shadows of Ashford City. Ryan pressed himself against the wet brick wall, peering around the corner into the dimly lit street. The figure he had spotted earlier remained motionless under the flickering neon light, a sentinel in the shadows, watching, waiting, calculating. Every instinct in Ryan screamed that the next move would be decisive. He adjusted his flashlight, dimming it so as not to reveal his position, while keeping the beam long enough to illuminate potential threats. The alleyway stretched ahead like a corridor of tension, puddles reflecting jagged shards of neon and street lamp light. Rain dripped steadily from the rooftops above, each drop punctuating the suffocating silence, adding rhythm to the tension that gripped his chest. Ryan's pulse raced, yet his mind remained razor-sharp, cataloging every detail, every shadow, every potential danger in the area. Slowly, he advanced, stepping lightly over puddles and broken pieces of wood, careful not to make a sound. His eyes flicked to the figure repeatedly, analyzing posture, angle of the head, and subtle movements that might indicate intent. A metallic glint caught his eye from the figure's hands, a weapon, small but dangerous in the wrong hands. Ryan knew that confronting the figure directly would be risky. A single misstep could trigger a deadly confrontation. He thought about the clues he had collected so far: the cryptic phone call, the metallic key, the masked figures, and realized that each piece was part of a carefully orchestrated puzzle, one designed to test his perception, his courage, and his ability to act under pressure. He moved closer, crouched and calculated, his flashlight occasionally illuminating the wet cobblestones in front of him. The figure shifted slightly, and Ryan froze, heart pounding, eyes fixed on every subtle change in stance. The rain was relentless, soaking through his coat, yet he hardly noticed. His focus was absolute. He understood that patience, timing, and precision were the only ways to survive this encounter. Every shadow was a potential threat, every reflective surface a hint, every sound amplified in the stillness. As he inched forward, he prepared himself for whatever awaited at the next corner: a confrontation, a revelation, or a trap designed to ensnare him. The night had grown darker, the city quieter, yet the tension around him was electric, a charged current of danger and anticipation that demanded every ounce of his skill and intuition. Ryan inched forward through the rain-slicked streets, every step measured, every sense alert. The masked figure under the flickering neon sign remained eerily still, as though time itself bent around its presence. The city's usual night sounds, distant traffic, barking dogs, the hum of streetlights, had faded into near silence, leaving only the relentless patter of rain against rooftops and pavement. Ryan's flashlight illuminated puddles, reflecting fractured fragments of light, each step revealing distorted images of the alley around him. He could sense that the figure was aware of his movements, tracking him, reading him, as if the night itself were a chessboard and he a pawn being maneuvered into a trap. His pulse surged, yet his mind remained razor-sharp, cataloging potential threats, exit routes, and strategies to confront whatever lay ahead. As he approached a narrow passage between two buildings, Ryan noticed a subtle shimmer footprints in the rain, leading toward a partially open door. The metallic key in his pocket seemed to thrum with significance, a reminder that someone had meticulously planned every move to lead him here. He crouched low, pressing against the brick wall, observing every shadow, every movement, waiting for the right moment to make his next step. The figure shifted slightly, and Ryan caught a glint of metal in its hand, a weapon, small but precise. He understood instantly that a confrontation was imminent, and that hesitation could be fatal. With careful steps, he moved closer, flashlight beam cutting a narrow path through the darkness. The alley seemed to stretch endlessly, the shadows growing longer, twisting and converging as if alive. Rain splashed against his coat, soaking through to his skin, but he hardly noticed, his focus absolute. He analyzed the figure's stance, posture, and the subtle shift of its weight, understanding that every micro-movement could reveal intent. The air was thick with tension, a tangible pressure that pressed against his chest, demanding total awareness, total control. Ryan's mind raced, weighing every possibility: a trap, a diversion, or the confrontation he had been seeking since the cryptic phone call. He knew that the next moments would test his skill, his intuition, and his courage, forcing him to confront danger in its purest form, and that failure was not an option. Ryan's heart pounded as he finally reached the partially open door at the end of the alley. The rain poured relentlessly, soaking him to the bone. But he hardly noticed. Every fiber of his being was focused on the shadowy figure ahead. The metallic key in his pocket seemed to burn, a tangible connection to the mystery he had been unraveling all night. The mystery he had been unraveling all night. The figure remained still, masked, its posture deliberate and calm, exuding an unnerving sense of confidence. Ryan took a deep breath, steadying himself, knowing that the next moments would determine the course of the night. He stepped closer, flashlight beam cutting through the darkness, illuminating the doorway and the cluttered interior beyond. Every sound was amplified: the drip of water, the scuff of wet shoes, the faint rustle of cloth, and Ryan's senses were hyper-aware, cataloging every detail, every possible threat. He crouched low and peered into the room, analyzing the layout. Crates stacked haphazardly, shadows creating a maze of concealment, and the figure partially hidden behind a stack near the far wall. The masked figure shifted slightly, and Ryan caught the glint of a knife in one hand, the other hand resting casually on a crate. His pulse raced, but his mind remained focused, scanning for escape routes, alternative approaches, and potential advantages. Every movement counted, every decision had weight, and he understood that hesitation could cost him everything. Slowly, he advanced, measuring each step, keeping his flashlight low yet steady, illuminating enough to see without revealing too much. He closed the distance. The figure finally spoke, voice calm, deliberate, and chilling in its clarity. "Detective Carter," it said, "you followed the trail exactly as I intended. Now you must decide, will you survive or become another piece of this city's hidden puzzle?" Ryan froze, calculating, weighing options, every instinct screaming that this was a test of wits, courage, and perception. He realized that the night, the chase, and the cryptic clues had all been designed to push him to this moment, the first true confrontation. With measured breath and unwavering resolve, he stepped fully into the doorway, ready to face whatever lay in the shadows, knowing that the answers he sought were finally within reach. But danger, deception, and uncertainty still hung heavy in the air.